Okay, we are back from executive session. We previously opened the select board November 28th. Just in order to refresh everyone's memory who may not have tuned in earlier, I'd like to call the roll again so that all the board members acknowledge their presence. John Markowitz.
Markowitz here.
Les Fox.
Fox present.
Wes Folks.
Present.
And Diana Lipari, present. Okay, I have some announcements. The Public Celebrations and Ceremonies Committee is looking for members to organize events such as Memorial Day Parade and Pfeiffer's Day Festival. If you are interested, you may find the resident interest form for boards and committees on the town's page. Come see Boxborough's Treasures on Saturday, December 3rd. The Boxborough Museum at 575 Middle Road will be open from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, December 3rd. Come see Boxborough's historic treasures, including the 1850s scale, which is sensitive enough to weigh a penny and strong enough to calibrate a 50-pound weight, the new hearse, built in 1881, and the old hearse. Come and see how old it is. How old is old? Admission is free and all are welcome. For more information, or if anyone wishes to arrange a private tour for a small group at a different time, please call John Fallon at 978-264-0069. Lastly, the Boxborough tree lighting will be on Saturday, December 3rd at 4:30 p.m. See town website for more information. So you can visit the museum and then walk over for the tree lighting. So I think that's really a 2-for-1. Okay, if you have a concern about an item that is not listed on the agenda, please raise it during community concerns. If you have a question or comment about an item that is on the agenda, you will be recognized after the board members have had an opportunity to get their questions answered. Due to time constraints, the board may not be able to accommodate comments from all residents on all topics. Please wait to be recognized by the chair before addressing the board. This is a forum for public input, questions, and criticism. However, we ask that all participants be respectful and civil. If a community member displays behavior repeatedly that is inappropriate or who does not respect the chair's right per Massachusetts general law to ask someone to stop speaking at any point, they will be muted for this meeting and I may not call on them in the future. We thank you for your understanding. Okay, so the next thing that we have is the approval of the minutes. We have a lot of them tonight. So I think probably the best thing for me to do is adopt something which was a practice at town meeting on the consent agenda. And I will name each date. If you have anything to say about that, just say hold and I will remove that from the common motion. So we have the regular session minutes of 9/8, 9/12, 9/15, 9/19, 9/26, 10/12, 10/17, 10/24, 11/10, and the joint meeting with the school committee of 10/25. Do I have a motion for approval of these minutes?
So
And second?
Second.
Okay. All right, roll call, John Markowitz.
I just want to take a quick note to say thanks for doing all these. This is a lot.
This is a lot.
I thought we were actually pretty caught up. I'm amazed we have all this to do.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great. Okay, John, do you want to vote?
Markowitz, aye.
Okay, Les Fox,
Fox eye.
Wes Folks,
Folks,
okay, Lipari, aye. All right, on to community concerns. Are there any community concerns? Okay, I don't see any hands raised here. Hopefully they jump forward. I'll just scroll through and make sure. Okay. So now we're on to new business, the introductions of new employees. Rajan?
So good evening, everybody. So we actually have two employees tonight who are going to be introduced. The first employee, let me check if she's here. Well, the first employee is actually Natalie Steele. She is the department assistant for the community services department as well as the recreation commission. She comes with us with a great wealth of experience and just excited to have her as a part of the team. She actually is the principal creative director for um, and the senior graphic designer for Integrated Marcom. And it's actually the part of her company, the Steel Creative Group. So she brings a great deal of experience in marketing, communications, as well as just some graphic design work that she's done in her career. It's very excited to have her as a part of the team. Her direct supervisor um, is our community services coordinator, Wendy Abetz, and she's also serving the Recreation Commission to give them some administrative support as well. So that is for Natalie, and our next employee is going to be Alec Wade, and I'll have Mike give a quick introduction about him as well.
Sure. Thank you, Rajan. During my short stay here, I've already had a great opportunity to interact with many of our employees, including the two new employees being introduced this evening. So Natalie works upstairs in Town Hall. She's a great addition to our team, and Rajan mentioned her qualifications. Also, Alec Wade, who's on this call, he's our new Director of Land Use and permitting, also known as in some places as town planner, and we've had him very busy already. I'll let Rajan speak to some of his qualifications, but I will say that he's already had a number of hearings that he's been involved in with the planning board. He's been involved in a meeting in my office here last week, talking about town center and the wishes of the community in that regard. He's looking up at the Beaver Creek at some of the Beaver Brook, excuse me, at some of the possibilities up there. And so we're excited to have him started. We're going to have him come back probably in 2 meetings from now and give us a little more of an update on town center once he's had a chance to talk with members of his planning board as well as the Economic Development Commission, and some of his thoughts on bringing some more voices to the table on what the town center should and could look like, and what the residents would like to see there. The other project that he's involved in early on in the process is Liberty Field. So this morning he joined Rajan, myself, our engineer, as well as Hillary from Recreation, in talking about the Liberty Field project. And he already identified a possible grant opportunity with trails that begin and end at Liberty Field. So that may be a future addition, possibility, no promises, but he's going to work with us and the Recreation Commission towards that end. He's got a wealth of knowledge on grants. So we'll see him back if there's room on the agenda in 2 meetings where he can fill you in on those adventures there.
Great.
Do you want to talk about his qualifications, Rajan?
Yes, so Alec actually comes from the town of Orange, where he served as the Director of Planning and Economic Development. He's also a graduate of Acton Boxborough Regional High School too, so he actually is from the area. But he's done a great deal of work there. He helped bring in over $950,000 in grant money to the town of Orange. He also helped to put together their land use and development team, as well as he helped to establish the part of the town's long range capital plan. So I'm excited to have Alec as part of the team. He has a great deal of experience, been a great asset to the town of Orange, and we're extremely thankful to have him here as a part of Boxborough as well. So definitely 2 great members to the team, and just excited to bring them to you tonight.
Since Alec is here, perhaps he might like to say something. And in the meantime, I'll acknowledge Mark Barbadoro while you make him accessible. Kirby, if you could. Mark?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I've been working with Alec, and he is a terrific asset, and he's just going to keep getting better and better. I've got a really, really good impression from the few short meetings that I've had, just how professional he can be. So the planning board is thrilled to have him on the team. Thanks.
So Alec, do you want to say something tonight, or do you want to wait in a couple of meetings?
I'll just say hi to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here working with you. As Rajan mentioned, I came through the Acton-Boxborough school system before heading my way to UMass to get my degree in sustainable community development and regional planning. For the past 3 years, while I've enjoyed my time working as the director in the town of Orange, it's often been a dream of mine to come back to Middlesex County, and who knew I'd end up so close to where I grew up. The cheesy one-liner I keep giving everybody is I used to play baseball out on Flair Field, and now as an adult, I get to help preserve and protect it. So it's been great working with the planning board so far. I get to meet the rest of the ZBA tomorrow, and I look forward to working with you and the select board moving forward.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Welcome both Nora and Alec. And, we're really happy you're here, and I'm glad you came back home or close to home. Okay. So now we have, moving on, a resignation of Lovingsky Jasmine from the Diversity, Equity, and
I
Inclusion.
can do that one if you want. So so Levinsky bought a house, or he was able to finally purchase a house, unfortunately not in Boxborough. But he was one of the initial members of the committee, or the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, and was the first chair of the committee. So he did help out quite a bit, but I guess that is, and so I'll make the motion and move to accept the resignation of Levinsky Jasmine from the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee with a letter of thanks for his service to the community.
Second.
Okay. Wes?
Okay.
John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Fox eye.
And Lapari, aye. Sorry to lose you. It's really too bad. Okay, so next we're going to have the public hearing regarding the classification of the tax rate factor for FY23, and I'm going to turn it all over to Kelly Sosek.
So, yeah, I'm sorry about having to bring this in front of you again. But you all had received my memo regarding why. So I had done all the work and had all the paperwork signed and submitted to DOR. DOR had approved the LA4, et cetera, with the numbers that I had presented to you. Unfortunately, the camera system that we use, which is Patriot in the assessor's office, it should have been recalculated twice, the system. And I say that after I had found out from Patriot that all the numbers, the first recalc didn't pull everything through. So that's basically why I'm here. But I do have a quick presentation, and it'll show you the numbers that, what did I do? It'll show you the numbers where the changes are. And because DOR had already approved that LA4, and essentially by the change that happened with the second recalculation of the system, which grabbed all the parcels at that point, the small change that happened changed the LA4 by minimal numbers. Your RES, or your residential percentage, and your CIP percentage remain the same of the 82-18%, which is the percentages you used in order to vote a single tax rate at the last hearing. So my assumption is that the board, and my recommendation to the board, would be that they will continue with that same vote. But I will share my screen and I will show you what happened. Okay, can everybody see that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So here we are again, classification hearing FY 2023. Again, I am so sorry. This is just the revisions of the numbers. The purpose of the classification hearing was the report on the final values for fiscal year 2023, which we have done. And like I said, the different accounts, the big accounts that made the big changes, those don't change. All that information is still remaining the same. Adoption of residential factor, MGL Chapter 40, Section 56 allows the shift of the tax burden between the property classes. And a reminder, this does not change the total tax levy for the community. It simply determines the share to be borne by each of the class, meaning residential and commercial, industrial, and personal property. Why another hearing? Though the historical content during the last classification remains the same, there is a slight difference in the actual numbers. The computer-assisted mass appraisal system, which I had called the CAMA system, did not do a full recalculation the first time, and those files did recalculate the second time. Though the res and the CI versus CIP percent remain the same, the Department of Revenue requires that a new hearing takes place to announce the value total changes. It also requires, it is also required that the select board takes another vote. Assessor's recommendation has not changed and recommends keeping the single tax rate. So as you can see right up here, if you can see my pointer is showing to you what each classification, residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property, what the values were that I had given you at the last classification with the total value of the town here. After the second recalc had taken place, you can see that it increased slightly in each of these bolded columns. So commercial had increased by that much, industrial went down, and residential increased by that much. It's about a little over 300. So your total for the town is that much. Now, I had given you the estimated tax rate per these classifications as is. So before we had approximately $15.72 as a tax rate. That was when the residential was at a value of this via the tax rate. So in other words, here, assessed value, residential multiplied by the 1572 would give you that value. And that's across the board here. And again, here's the changes. Now I'm looking at a 1579 with these new numbers. Okay. So this will be the value for residential. This will be the value for commercial, industrial, personal property in your total. So you can see it's a slight difference. Now, I was using a total levy of 23,000,003, dividing by that taxable value that you had seen on the previous screen equals this number here multiplied by 1,000 is how I came up with the 1572 on the first classification. And it's showing you how I came up with the 1579. So that last slide's a little clearer on this slide here, I would think, for you. Now, good news. I actually, when I created this slide or this presentation for the select board previous to this evening, you did not have this one down here. And that was because Gateway was actually inaccessible. So today I was able to access it and able to give you a much clearer view of what the tax rate will be. Kelly has put her numbers in. I have placed my numbers in. Everything is ready to go. So if all goes well this evening and we continue with the single tax rate and no shifting, then I'll be able to push the button and we're presenting with our numbers this as a tax rate to DOR, hoping that they will approve that with numbers that they see. So our total levy would be 22,301,381 divided by the taxable value, which equals that result there times 1,000 is your rate of 1511. Now this is what happened. I wanted to show you the shift. This is the before slide that you had seen, and this is the after slide. So there again, it shows you that you're 8190.92 and 18.07. Before it was 18.45 for commercial, industrial, and personal property, and 81.55 for your residential. So you can see that we're still remaining between the 82 and the 18%. What does that look like? Well, I didn't clean this one. I did not do the new rate of the 1511 for this slide. I clearly forgot, but on that other slide with the 1572, I think it was I had, that was a $12,000 average tax bill. It was a 1579. So using the 1579, it was an average $12,000 tax bill. But what you could do is take this 764691. I'll do it real quick for you and give you an idea. 764691 times 1511. You're looking at about approximately 11,554 for an average tax bill. So it's $1,000 less than what I'm presenting there. So assessor's recommendation is to vote to adopt a single tax rate and vote to take no action on the following of open space discount, residential exemption, and small commercial exemption. And this is the proposed motion. Any questions?
Do you have
Can
any
we just,
questions?
actually just, yeah, hang on.
Okay, so Les? First?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Almost everything on the STM warrant was from free cash, except for a few items. I'm just looking through the warrant to refresh my memory. First year of the CBAs was to come from taxation, and I think some pieces of another article. So do those get pushed forward into next year's FY budget, or will we actually have the option to do it this time around? In other words, increase the levy.
Whatever has been voted at fall town meeting, that's why this information, well, that's why we were late on submitting everything to the state to begin with. We're waiting for fall town meeting. So the accountant can answer the question further, but I believe whatever was voted at the fall town meeting has been placed into Gateway. But
All right, and that has not yet been certified by the Attorney General, I assume. So we actually don't know what we did yet legally, right?
all the information from fall town meeting, again, I'm assuming that has been placed into Gateway.
Right.
That will be once I submit everything to DOR, that's when they start looking at everything and including whatever has been placed in from fall town meeting.
Right. So there'll be some slight changes there due to that. I
There
think.
possibly could be some, if they see any purpose to change anything, they will change it, and
Yep.
and our tax rate will not be what I'm estimating to you this evening.
Right.
Okay, John?
Yeah, Kelly, thanks for doing this. It's another great job. Really a lot of work, I know. So basically, DOR did not agree with the residential and the commercial valuations that we had. Is that what caused
No,
the change?
No, what happened, John, was I was going away on vacation, and I was trying to make sure that everything, all my I's were dotted, my T's were crossed and everything before leaving. I wanted to be able to come back and push a button knowing that all my work was absolutely clean. So I decided to do a dry run into the billing system of VADAR, which is what the tax collector and assessor use simultaneously. The system that I took the file from was Patriot, which is the assessor's camera system. That information that I took and I plugged into the VADAR versus the LA4, I'm like looking at these numbers here going, wait a minute, something's not balancing. With that, I started doing research right away because I was frantic. And DOR had already approved the LA4. So with that being said, I can't put a bill file in that's reading one number for a total value and my LA4 is reading another. It doesn't balance. Had I not done that dry run, this evening wouldn't have happened. We would have found this out later after we submitted everything. If that happened then, we would have been in big trouble. So by doing this, I reached out to DOR immediately. I asked, what can I do? This is what happened. And I was put through scrutiny to find out what happened, which I was expected to happen. And not being able to explain it, knowing that I had done everything right, I had to reach out to Patriot itself. And they determined that sometimes Patriot needs a recalculation twice. So you got to hit the recalc button and then automatically hit it again. Hitting it twice guarantees that all the parcels are done. So it's nothing that, I mean, any commenter sitting behind the computer, this could have happened to. And this has happened in other communities as well. So we're not the only community it happened to. I was just grateful that I decided to do a dry one. And after speaking to DOR about it as well, they also spoke with me and said that now the commissioner is looking into making all communities do exactly what I had done. You do the LA4 and you do a dry run to make sure everything's good before they even certify or approve your LA4. So what I had done, they're looking at making all the communities do that before they approve their LA4s.
Well, Kelly, that's great. That's great. Thank you very much for the explanation.
You're welcome. I'm so sorry again that I had to come to you, but here we are.
Madam Chair, could I offer a perspective on this? So when Kelly came in the other day, and told me about this, I wasn't surprised. And I was less frantic than she was about it because she thought she was going to have to, bring me up to speed, define the whole thing. And the reason I wasn't shocked, I mean, of course, you don't want to redo this, but I saw the same exact thing happen in the community that I came from a year ago, except it wasn't caught quite as soon as Kelly caught it because, like she said, she had done a dry run. Had she not, this would be later, which I saw it be more of a scramble. Again, not to anyone's fault, but the community I came from used the same vendor for the camera system. And so there is something there that the commissioner is looking into, and I'm glad that they're gonna at least look at a procedure, if not some sort of a technical resolution to this. So thank you for working extra hard on this, Kelly.
Yeah, so Kelly, thanks for the explanation. So does all this mean that all we really should do going forward is, as a matter of standard practice, do this recalculation on every submission? Absolutely.
You should do it. Something happens to me, you guys decide to get rid of me or whatever, whoever you have in that seat should have if they're using the Patriot system, should recalculate it twice. It has been presented to me before. Well, should we be using that Patriot system? Listen, every camera system has their evils. That is the lesser of evils that I have seen in other camera systems. I'll stick with the Patriot and I'll stick it as part of my to-do list. I'm way okay with that.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for bird dogging that.
You're welcome.
Do we have any comments from the public on this before we take a vote? Okay, so here, first of all, I move to, where are we here? Sorry. I move to adopt a single tax rate for fiscal year 23. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Les Fox.
Okay, Fox, aye.
Wes Folks.
Folks, aye.
John Markowitz.
Markowitz, aye.
And Lepari, aye. And the second part of this is, I move to pass over and not adopt the small commercial exemption, the residential exemption, and the open space discount. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Les.
Fox, aye.
Wes.
Folks, aye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
and Lepari, aye. Thank you very much, Kelly. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Because we have the finance team here, what I'm going to do is, for the moment, switch a little bit and take the discussion regarding the fiscal year 23 Q1 quarterly report by the finance team. If everyone's ready to go, Jared?
Definitely. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. How's it going? So the three of us, as we decided last time, we're going to give you guys a quarterly report. This is a little bit later than we would have liked to have given it, but there's been obviously a lot going on. So hopefully next quarter we can give it to you a little bit sooner. I think the three of us will go through our lists individually, and then if there's any questions, by all means, feel free to ask. I'll read through the report that I submitted. We billed and collected for our first quarter of FY23 real estate and personal property taxes. Those were due on August 1st. We also billed for our fourth commitment of motor vehicle excise for calendar year 2022. The town had a lot of old motor vehicle commitments that hadn't been moved to the next steps with our deputy collector, so adding demands or adding warrants to them. So I did get those caught up, and we'll keep them caught up moving forward. Continuing to work on updating office procedures such as payroll processing. I'm teaching my assistant now, who's doing a great job. Departments are doing a great job with their turnovers, and we're still working on, cleaning up the onboarding process for new hires to make it a good transition coming into the town. I worked on cleaning up employee accruals, which, as we've discussed in the past, those have been, a little bit messy. So that's something I'm going to keep up with as well. Lots of record requests came in, such as retirees who need old payroll information. The town has switched payroll softwares a couple of times, so that can be a bit challenging going back to prior years that aren't in our current system. I uploaded the treasurer collector year-end submittals to Gateway. I had a few items, treasurer's cash, statement of indebtedness, and our DE1. Those are all set. Reconciled cash with the town accountant. That's a tag team effort. Same thing with, we've cleaned up the town's receivables quite a bit. There's been some errors that were kind of lingering for many years that we got a lot of that cleaned up, still working on it. In July, we updated all of the employee pay rates with grades and steps as were approved, and also COLA increases. Worked on our workers' compensation reporting and our OPEB reporting. Those are things that happen every year. I personally attended the treasurer collector schooling in the fall. That was great. And the finance team continues to meet weekly, which is a great opportunity for us to, any concerns that we might have, to be able to talk about them each week. And it really keeps us up to date with each other. So that's working out very well. That's what I got. Kelly Souza, maybe if you want to go next.
Oh, sure. I was going to let Kelly Pontebrand go first, but I realized she has quite a lengthy one. So Kelly, I know you're not feeling well, so if you want to go first, how do you feel? You want to go first? Or you want me to go do mine quickly?
Just go ahead and do yours.
Okay. All right. So this is quarter one for FY23. So you'll hear a lot of things that seem like behind the clock, if you will, because it is. But so the preliminary bills for first and second quarters were totaling $11,053,168 and 69 cents, being committed to the Real Estate, Personal Property, and Community Preservation Act. $31,818.63 was committed for motor vehicle, and $5,080.15 was abated for motor vehicles. Applications for statutory exemptions are now being taken in the office. Applications were mailed out to town residents who had applied in the past. Going forward, we will mail them out only if requested. Otherwise, you need to stop by the assessor's office or download one from the assessor's webpage. If you go onto the assessor's webpage, you will see that in recent weeks, I have actually put a lot of information out there for the Boxborough community and going for other individuals. Pretty much you can self-sustain anything you need from the assessors in there, but always do call if you need anything beyond that. Applications are due into the assessor's office before April 1st of 2023 for the personal exemptions. FY 2024 Chapter Land 61, 61A, and 61B rights and acknowledgements, applications, and all supporting documentation was due into the assessor's office by October 1st of 2022. Tax rate recap, omitted and revised report. There was none to submit. LA3 interim adjustments were approved. LA3 sales report and analysis certification was approved. CP1 and CP2 community preservation reports submitted pending approval. LA4 assessment and classification approved. LA13 new growth approved for $1,095,171, and LA15 interim year adjustment was approved. So that's all the DOR reports that my office had to submit into DOR. And as you can hear, most of them were already approved. Cyclicals are now underway. Drew from Mayflower, I can't say his last name, Pavoyik, from Mayflower has been inspecting properties since mid-October and will continue until the project is complete. And that's all I have.
Well, good evening. You'll have to excuse my voice. So in my office, the first quarter of the year is always crazy with getting the books closed out, working with the departments, made a lot of changes this year. So it was working with the departments with the account numbers, making sure the new processes were in place, that the departments understood exactly what encumbered funds was. That was very challenging, as I don't really think departments had been educated to that, where they understood what it was. But we did a really good job this year. We did have a few bills that slipped through the cracks, but, not a ton of them. I realized as I'm, looking over this, I forgot to put in my paragraph about the revenue. I apologize about that, but you did get the revenue report. So on the revenue report, you'll see at the bottom for the general fund, we're right at 24% of our budgeted revenue for the fiscal year so far. So we're pretty much right on track. And the budget here that is the pending budget. Once we get the tax recap finalized, then on the next quarter, you'll see the approved DOR budget. So you'll be able to see exactly what the DOR approved. Sorry. And you'll be able to see exactly what the DOR approved budget is for the revenue. Now on the expenses, any line item, even though kind of how you do the budget of, you've got your salary and then you have your expenses. I just kind of wanted to bring to your attention line items that are over 30% already this year. One of the big things that I've noticed is the software cost. I don't know if departments didn't reach out to the vendors to see if there would be increased costs this year. But there are a lot of them that are over what was budgeted for that. So I'm hoping that then this budget process this year, we can hopefully address a lot of these issues so that we can have a better split of the expense numbers right up front instead of, trying to move it later. Because the more, if we're going to have that many line items for a department, we need to have it a little closer to actual of what it is than just moving money to take care of things. So the dues and memberships, those are all paid at the beginning of the year. So those, of course, are over the 30%. And then you'll see the software support. Several of those are already over the 30%. But again, a lot of those are all paid right up front. But there are some of those that are even over what has been put in the budget for that. Also, we have the assessment for Minuteman is over, but we paid that in one lump sum. The town insurances, again, those were increased costs this year that weren't taken into account in the budget. So I believe we've covered those at the town meeting, at the fall town meeting. And then just the next ones again are just line items I wanted to bring to your attention that we already have spent over 30%. So like for an example, the treasurer collector office supplies, whatever the budget was there wasn't a lot, it's already gone. So that's why I say we really have to look better this year at more of a realistic budget of line items, you know, and like I said, if we're going to have all the line items in a department, we need to try to get them as accurate as possible. So that's pretty much what I have for my part. And Jared, I'll take it back to you.
Thank you, guys. Was there any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have one question, Jared. As I recall at the beginning of the season, there was quite a bit of issues with a health plan communications, the documentation that didn't get out on time. And I think since we're technically still in open enrollment season, and I'm not sure where the town's employees stand on getting signed up, do we have any major issues with how we are going to handle that next year going forward? What have we learned from that experience, and have we taken steps to address it?
I'm actually not familiar with those issues. That's not something that I have been privy to, I guess. I'm not sure what those issues are, but the current employees open enrollment, that's in May. That was taken care of right around when I started by Rajon, I believe, headed that. And we're actually in the process of our retiree open enrollment. Everything is due. Actually, it was due by last Friday. We had a few plan changes. Sent all of our retirees a letter in the mail with the updated plan information. Some people called and asked questions, and then some people will just continue their plans from last year. But I personally don't have any concerns about our open enrollments moving forward.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
John?
Yeah, the only comment, I have a comment with regards to our ARPA spending. We have 1.7 million allocated for, and I think if we spend under $740,000 in a fiscal year, an audit is not required. And I'm just concerned that we've got money allocated to a number of different activities and projects, and I don't see the money being spent. I'm just thinking it's probably a topic for the select board and FinCom to take up in the future.
John, I think that because we moved it into a reserve fund, an audit is not in the cards no matter what we spend or how we spend. That's my understanding, and perhaps Mike can comment on that. Or Kelly? Yes, Kelly. Can you?
Yes, it doesn't matter where you put the money. If the town spends $750,000 on grant funds during a fiscal year, we have to do a special audit. The only benefit with unfortunate, I mean, I don't know that it's fortunate, but the ARPA will allow you to get the cost out of for that audit out of the administration cost. So it's not like it's going to cost the town any additional funds. But it can be taken from that, from that. But I do think that it would be beneficial to have a meeting to kind of go over each one of these items and, kind of one of the things I've figured is that I'm finding is there needs to be a person assigned to different items, line items, that there's somebody that's kind of taking care of it. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be to kind of have a chair head of, each one of these line items of who is managing it and who's taking care of it instead of doing it as a lump sum. But that's just my thoughts on it.
Thank you, Kelly. Les?
Yeah, on a similar note and triggered by John's question, actually, there's a lot of complexity in all of the projects we decided to fund with this so-called cost recovery scheme for ARPA. And I think we've talked about it at least twice before, that we need to make that whole process and the status of it much more visible to the public who would like to check in on, see how we're doing on expending those funds that we said we would do. I don't know what the team's current thinking is on how to do that, to put it up on a separate web page, tracking ARPA spending, progress on projects, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a non-trivial thing, and I think we owe it to the public to do a good job on it.
I would agree with you, Wes, actually. I think that there is a better way we can handle it. I think we've had a lot that we've been focusing on, and there have been some hitches, I believe, with some of the projects. So perhaps, Mike, you can have a conversation with the finance team and we can come to some conclusion about this going forward, because
Sure.
we need more information. John?
Yeah, I just looked at the list. I mean, one of the concerns I have is, and Kelly was right. If we spend under $750,000 in the fiscal year, we don't need to do an audit. So we would save that money. So I'm looking at the school, Acton Boxborough School District. We've allocated $375,000. They've expended $0. That would get us halfway there. Okay. And then each of these other items that are in there, each one of these is based on someone submitting a proposal. So we have the names of the people or the organizations who submitted those proposals. The first step should be getting back in touch with those people, asking them where they are, what do they need, or do they still think they need this money and can use it, or can we reallocate it to something else? For example, ARPA funds can be used for Steel Farm if we have a good plan. Okay. What we were able to do with the revenue recoupment is we were able to put that money into a pot that's available to the town, that we don't have to go through we don't have to file every time with the government saying we want to spend the money in this way. But we do have to meet certain requirements. So I think we should have the names of the people who have submitted the request for this amount of money. I think the first step is to go back and say, do you still need this? Is this what you're interested in? Are there problems? Will you be able to spend it, etc.? That's my thought.
Thank you, John. Do we have any other comments from the board? Okay, the public. Does anyone want to make a comment from the public on this item before we move on? No, seeing no hands. Thank you very much, Jared, Kelly, and Kelly.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
You're welcome to stay on if you'd like, but if not,
Jared,
I'll probably
Jared,
poke in and out. Go ahead.
Jared, could we put the this ARPA tracking on your agenda tomorrow for your finance team?
Sure, we can.
Okay, that'd
Absolutely.
be great.
Yep.
I'll be joining your meeting again tomorrow.
Looking
Thanks.
forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you.
okay. So moving on to the next item, which I asked to be put on the agenda regarding transparency and communication. Kelly, could you throw the memo up on the screen? I've attached to this agenda a memo that I wrote and presented to the select board last September, and that was 2021. At the time, I felt it was important to bring this again before the board and the public, especially because of all the recent comments regarding the lack of transparency by this board and others on various issues. I don't think we will have time tonight to discuss it in detail because our meeting is so complicated and so full this evening, but I would hope that the board members read it. Perhaps you can make it just a little bigger, Kelly. Those are the main points that are on this first page, at least. And those points are the things that I think are the most important about transparency. I've gone in the rest of the memo explaining those points and why I think they're important. So I really would encourage you to read it and for the public to read it and to understand that was my feeling about transparency and my feelings about going forward, what we should do. We discussed it briefly over a year ago, but I'd like us to have a more fulsome discussion of these points. But in that spirit of transparency, I want to make some comments about the discussion we had at the fall town meeting regarding the legal line item. And it was such a contentious item at town meeting, and the issue of transparency was brought up a lot during that discussion. I want the public to know that from my point, I was really, and I'm speaking only for myself, I haven't asked the other board members, but I was completely surprised and dismayed to learn that during the town meeting, that the FinCom had not been provided with an accounting of legal fees by category, at the very least. I thought the information that was verbally provided by Carter during the meeting had been given to the FinCom. It had come to us in an email. I thought it was provided, and I was very surprised to learn during the meeting that it had not been provided. So it should have been given to the FinCom. And for that, I really apologize personally, and I'm sorry that the FinCom was not given that information. However, I want this board to know, and I want the public to know, that our new town administrator, Mike Johns, attempted to provide information after a conversation with the Finance Committee chair, attempted to provide that information to the FinCom in advance of their scheduled meeting at 6 p.m. the night of town meeting. And so I realized the next day when I opened his email, which was a response to an email that was sent by Becky Neville the week before asking some questions. Mike sent Becky a response, and he CC'd the chair of the FinCom, Maria Nyland. And in that email, he said at the beginning of the email that he attached a document which was everything that he knew at the time about the legal fees regarding KP Law. I know that Becky and Maria acknowledged receipt of that email. And that email document contained an accounting by category of the legal fees from January 1st through the end of August 31st, 2022. That means that there were 6 months of the last fiscal year and 2 months of the current fiscal year provided to the FinCom in advance of their 6 o'clock meeting. Now, I know that Becky and Maria both acknowledged receipt of that email, and I have reason to believe, I can't verify, but I have reason to believe that email was not forwarded to other members of the FinCom in advance of their meeting. But in any case, it was not discussed during that meeting, not at all mentioned during that meeting. That document was not mentioned during the fall town meeting to the public. And I'm finding that very disappointing and dismaying as well. Everyone is responsible for transparency in the end. And that is the only way citizens can make a good vote or decisions regarding complicated issues. Clearly, there was also a lack of clear communication among the various parties. I know that we can do much better in this issue, and I personally promise to do better. So I'm willing to take any other comments about the memo or about anything that the other board members would like to say. Okay, any comments by the public? Yes, Maria. Maria, did we lose her?
I think she's muted.
No, she's not showing up on my screen. Maria, are you there?
I think her mic might be muted. Like not the Zoom meeting, but.
Maria? Did you not want to speak?
No, she's speaking. Make sure that in your audio, when you select the microphone, that it's selected as the correct microphone.
We still can't hear you, Maria. Is she unmuted?
Yeah, she's unmuted. This is an issue on her device where she needs to select the microphone and then, because if it is, I remember, I think last meeting or the meeting before, she said it was a new laptop or something like that. And so sometimes Zoom can need permissions for the microphone.
Okay, maybe she can work on it. Mark?
Yeah, so I was also dismayed about the comments that the FinCom made about the information that they were being provided. at the meeting, Susan Bach asked, when she was on the FinCom, the town administrator provided a list of items at different buckets and explained them to us. So her question was, did the FinCom get a report like that? And Maria Nealon's response was, we've been asking for a report like that since February. All the numbers that Carter just stated were never given to us. We had no idea that any of that existed. We've been asking and we have not gotten these bills. We have not gotten the list that has been read off to the public audience. And that strains credulity because I saw an email from Mike Johns where he said, here is all the information that I know about the legal bills. And he gave that to Becky and Maria before their last FinCom meeting, before town meeting. So I hope Maria gets her mic working and she can explain exactly why she got up at town meeting and said she didn't get any of that information. But that said, I really can't defend the indefensible. The select board has been doing a lousy job of being transparent.
There you go.
And as hard as it might be to be transparent when you have investigations ongoing, it seems like everything, bills, emails, legal opinions, everything, when given the option, the select board has chosen to obfuscate the facts. So I see we've got a new town administrator, and I liked Carter. He was a good guy, but Carter was not perfect. And I think Carter was not helpful when it came to being transparent. I'm hoping that the select board will, under Mike's guidance, be more transparent than they've been in every way. And don't stand on any principle or any ideology that interferes with transparency. If you must be silent about an investigation, we as a town can live with that. But if you are choosing to be silent and not let people understand how their government is functioning, that's not excusable. And I think at town meeting, what you saw was a collective scream of at an entire town meeting saying that we're willing to defund our own government rather than let that go on. It's not a great way to run government through reserve fund transfers. It's a mistake. And it was clearly promoted by people who were worried about the investigation itself. They weren't worried about transparency. They were worried about defunding an investigation. But you guys just handed it to them. You basically gave them a cause to come and take your budget from you. And so I hope this is a learning curve for both the FinCom and the select board. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mark. Anybody else want to talk about this? Keith? Keith?
Yep. Can you hear me?
You can.
Yeah, I just had a couple items I wanted to talk about related to transparency. I share Mark's sentiments that, there's been lacking transparency. But I go back to some other transparency that was lacking from a historical perspective. From December 28th of 2020 to late February 2021, Select Board member and Police Department liaison at that time, Maria Nyland, appears to have been the only member of the Select Board to have been aware of the Police Department payroll issue. And during that same time, the majority of the Finance Committee was also unaware of those payroll issues, including Warren Ryder's FinCom liaison, me. So I estimate in that time frame there was probably 7 or 8 weeks went by To my understanding, where Maria may have been the only person that was aware of the payroll issue. The other thing that bothers me during this whole time is that neither the select board nor the personnel board ever reached out to talk to former town employee Andrea Veros in 2020 or 2021 to hear her side of the story. She has been vilified as the villain in this circumstance. And I just don't, I fail to see or understand where anyone, a municipality or a company, can only take one side of the story without having talked to the other. And finally, from a transparency perspective, and another question of mine, Select Board member Les Fox and former Select Board members Maria Nyland, Bob Stemple, and chairperson at the time, Susan Bach, decided that they would not present an offer for the town to purchase town center parcels as part of the 2018 or 2019 settlement of town center, and let the taxpayers decide on the merits of that on their own. So I want to personally thank the current select board. I know you've been going through a lot. I know there's a lot going on in town. I can only say that the Lyons family supports you and understands you are limited in what you can tell us at this time. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you for your comments, Keith. Anybody else? I don't know if Maria's gotten her mic to work. I guess it's saying connect.
She just entered the room.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yep.
we can, Maria.
Okay. I don't know what's going on my computer. I can't even hear the meeting. I'm sure that Mark and Keith made some comments. I don't have any idea what they said. I'm just going to be very, I will discuss this further at our finance committee meeting. And because I can't directly comment on what was already said by two other speakers, here's what I will say. Yes, we received a very late in the afternoon email at 5 o'clock. I opened the email. I opened the attachment. The attachment that I read was legal fees from July 1st through August 31st. We had already received that and discussed those legal fees at our November 1st meeting. It was on our agenda. So no, I did not forward that on. I did not scroll down to the second set of legal fees that were there. I believe that I did say, no, I don't have that list that Carter is reading now, because we did not. We did, and I mentioned that we had gotten some legal fees, but hadn't gotten current legal fees. I'm happy to put this on the agenda for the finance committee meeting and talk about it next week in detail when I can actually hear what people are saying and answer direct questions. I agree, Diana, transparency is important. I think this whole conversation could have been avoided at town meeting had we had more information from Carter, and particularly that list that he had clearly prepared for the meeting, but hadn't sent to us. So I guess what I would, say is I agree with you. Transparency is important. I'm happy to address direct questions about that email at my finance committee meeting, or, Keith and Mark both know how to get in touch with me. I have a town email address. I'd be happy to answer those questions.
Thank you, Maria. We
Okay.
appreciate your comments. Anybody else on this issue before we move forward? I think we're going to have to go into greater detail in this memo, because I'm hoping that there are some things that the select board can vote on and bring in as a policy into town. I think it will go a long way towards helping the transparency issue. Are there any other comments before we move on? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for that discussion. Now we're going to move on to item G, which is awarding the $975,000 bond anticipation note, Sergeant Road Roadwork BANs from the 2022 ATM. Mike, this is your.
Sure. So this is a bond that was put out following your Maytown meeting, and it was for the Sergeant Road acquisition, as well as the road improvements. And this was at a cost of, let's see, it was 875,000 for Sergeant Road, minus 200,000 that was put down. And then another 300,000 for road maintenance, coming to a total after the 200,000 is taken off for 975,000. So this was put out via bond anticipation note, and what this is in front of you this evening for a vote of the board, and then we're asking you to take the vote and then come in tomorrow to town hall and actually provide wet signatures to this bond anticipation note so that we can send it in, and it will be effective. I believe the date is December. It's in front of you. It's in about a week or so, December 7th or around the 6th. Anyways, the coupon rate on this was 4%, and the net interest cost on this bond interest was 3.698. And so this is something that you'll want to go ahead and vote, and then, as I mentioned, come in and sign all 4 board members tomorrow in town hall. You're muted, Dana.
For some reason, I don't see a motion on my page. Do we have a motion to?
It's the second one, and I don't know if the clerk has to read it. Typically, the bond anticipation notes are the clerk's motion, or I don't know if it's the other one.
This one's it's a fairly long one. And
no, I know. And I know, like, because I've had to read these before when we issue the bonds or whatever, although this is a bond anticipation note. So I know Les is, do you want me to read this, Les? Unless you need the clerk?
If you don't have it in front of you, Kelly.
I have it. So I was just saying, I know that when you actually go out for the sale of the bonds, I know that the clerk has to read that. I didn't know if that was the case, but I can read it because I have it up unless the clerk needs to.
That would be great if you could, because for some reason I didn't print it out. I don't know why.
Okay, so I move to approve the sale of $975,000 at 4% general obligation bond anticipation notes, the notes of the town dated December 6, 2022, and payable December 6, 2023 to Fidelity Capital Markets, a division of National Financial Services, LLC, at par and accrued interest rate, if any, plus a premium of $2,944.50. And further, that in connection with the marketing and sale of the notes, the preparation and distribution of a notice of sale and a preliminary official statement dated November 9th, 2022, and a final official statement dated November 16th, 2022. Each in such form as may be approved by the town treasurer, be and hereby are ratified, confirmed, and approved and adopted. And further, that the town treasurer, I mean, you're making this way everybody else gets to see how much further I have to go. Okay, so, and further, that the town treasurer and the select board be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver significant events disclosure undertaking in compliance with SEC Rule 15C2-12. In such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the note for the benefit of the holders of the notes from time to time. And further, that we authorize and direct the town treasurer to establish post-issuance federal tax compliance and procedures and continuing disclosure procedures in such forms as the town treasurer and bond counsel deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax exempt status of the notes and to comply with the relevant security laws. And further, that the certificates or documents relating to the notes, collectively the documents, may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original, and all of which shall constitute one and the same document. Delivery of an executed counterpart of a signature page to a document by electronic mail in a PDF file or other electronic transmission shall be as effective as delivery of a manually executed counterpart signature page to such document, and electronic signatures on any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purposes of the documents in all matters relating thereto, having the same legal effect as the original signatures. And further, that each member of the board, the select board, and the town clerk and the treasurer be hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and to execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, and or documents as may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing vote. And further, that anybody who asks to clarify that or read that again, read it themselves.
Thank you for that wonderful reading, Wes. Do I have a second? John? Les?
Second.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? All right. Let's vote.
Yeah.
Wes?
Folks, aye.
John?
Markowitz, aye.
Les?
Sorry, I was muted. Aye, but I want to make a comment.
Okay.
I guess we've all voted by now.
Except for Diana.
Except for me. So go ahead.
Go ahead and vote, Diana. I can
All
ask.
right. Aye. There we go.
Okay, so the question is, I'm not sure because that document didn't have any signature lines on it. I've seen this done where I, as the clerk, testified that this was the vote of the board, and that is what is submitted with the filing from bond counsel, or we're going to have a document where we all go in and sign it. And do we need wet signatures? I have Mike, you need to tell us which way we're going to do with this one.
Yes, so there is one form where we need a wet signature from all four of you.
Okay.
And then there's also something that just needs to be signed by the clerk, you, Les.
Okay.
And then the other ones, it talks in the motion that Wes just read about electronic signatures and so forth. But there is one page where we do need all of your wet signatures tomorrow, and we have to mail that original in.
Okay, so you'll let us know when all that's ready down at Kelly's office, I guess.
Yes, that's actually ready for you, so you can come in tomorrow. Anytime. Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay,
yeah, we've had it
you.
all. It's all prepared. We just needed to wait to have you vote on it first.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we're moving on to item H, which is amending, restating the treasurer collector personnel contract. Mike?
Yes. So this is what we discussed in executive session, and that was an adjustment to the treasurer collector contract, which provided for a $7,500 retention bonus, if you will, at the end of the treasurer collector's 3-year contract. And what we've done to make this contract more competitive, and in an effort to do our best job to retain our treasurer collector, which is our goal, is to split that stipend over the 3 years, so paying it each year into the salary. So there is a little bit of an increased cost as it goes up each year, but not significant. So that's what you discussed in executive session. So now it would be appropriate to vote on that matter. And that would be just an amendment to the original contract, and that is the only change to the contract.
I'll move to authorize Mike Johns to amend the contract with the treasurer collector.
Do I have a second? John, seconded?
Second.
Yeah.
Second, yep.
Any discussion? Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, Les?
Cox, aye.
Wes?
Okay.
John?
Markowitz, aye.
Lepari, aye. Okay, thank you. And thank you, Jared. Okay, next is, second here.
It's the
Yes,
town administrator.
Treasurer collector as finance director. Again, Mike.
Hey, so this is just a vote of the board. So this is the funding has already been approved for this at town meeting. This was the annual stipend for a finance director. Currently, the finance director will be the treasurer collector, Jared. So it just like if the board could vote on that so that we can designate him as the finance director.
Okay. I move to confirm the appointment of Jared R. Aponte as finance director without term. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Well deserved.
Yes, I agree. Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Hope so.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
and Lepari, aye. Congratulations, Jared. All right. Next one is I believe it's the performance review. Yes. Wes, you created a draft performance evaluation form to be amended to the town administrator's contract. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, just for some context. So historically, this town, we have been pretty bad about doing performance reviews. And Mike John's contract is actually incentivized towards performance. And so it's effectively him taking a bet on him and us taking a bet on him and his performance. And so we had discussed that it was not fair, or the most fair way to do it would be to discuss and agree to, and his contract does say that he needs to agree to the performance evaluation. And so in doing so, this criteria really, or this having this performance evaluation set out and knowing how you are being evaluated beforehand really helps to clarify things and to take out any of the mystery, and also in fairness and also in good management, providing the employee or Mike with what to look for, and also not like, so that way next year we don't just add like a whole new column and say, this is your performance review. He's like, like, what is our, and I'll go back to my astronaut thing. So like, what is our, like, he's like, progress towards building a space station in Boxborough, and then like, you failed, so you are needs improvement. So that's not really fair nor anything. And so just putting it in his contract additionally kind of takes out the guesswork and takes out a lot of the pressure from year to year and provides a smooth template. And I know that the town and Carter had worked on a template for the employees and department heads as well. And so this is kind of bringing that in line with it as well. The reason that this is different than one of the other ones that we had, and why I'm proposing this, is because it's less open-ended and provides more concrete evaluation rather than just a open evaluation based on a certain prompt, which I think is to be a bit more effective. And after doing some research, found it to be or able to be more consistent in that manner. Because as board members change, their perception of open-ended prompts can also change. But this is a clear and consistent means of collecting feedback and review. You're muted.
I keep forgetting I turn it off so you don't hear the dogs barking. Do you want to share it on the screen, Wes?
Oh, sure.
So we can show the public what you're talking about.
Let me pull it up. Okay. Here, I can share the actual document if you want.
Well, Kelly has it up on the screen.
I know it's a little bit convoluted there, I think, just because of the way that the PDF kind of. So we have, hold on. So we have the rating scale, outstanding, highly effective, proficient, improvement needed, and unsatisfactory. And so as we go through each section, we have personal characteristics. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I failed. Okay, so we'll have to make this motion as amended because we'll need to add in column 5. Otherwise, that is not allowing Michael to meet the top law. So I can make that change and send that back out again right after this. But so good thing I reviewed this now.
Okay.
But yeah, so we have the professional characteristics, professionalism, public relations and communications, board support and relations, community leadership, organizational leadership, personnel management, financial management. Okay, Yep. Town operations and infrastructure, planning and organization, and then it provides a section for each of these after. So this is significantly, or it's longer than the other one, but it's less open-ended and a little bit more specific than what people probably have seen.
Do we have any comments from any board members? Anything you'd like to see changed here before we take a vote? We're going to have to amend it to include column 5. So.
Yep.
And I thought it was a great job. Thanks, Wes.
Yeah, it is a great job. Okay, seeing no hands up, I'm going to say.
I'll move to, and I guess, Mike, is this okay with you? I guess that's also an important question because he has to agree to it for his contract.
I did. I reviewed this ahead of time, and I thought that was a very analytical way to go through and cover all the areas that should be covered by the town administrator. So I think it's a fair and forthright, and I appreciate that this is coming early in my tenure. So I am agreeable to this.
Okay, so I'll move to accept with modification or amendments the town administrator's contract amendment to include a performance evaluation form.
We have a second. Oh, good. Okay, any further discussion? Les?
Fox, aye.
Wes?
Folks, aye.
John?
Markowitz, aye.
And Lepari, aye. Thank you very much, Wes, for doing that.
Yep.
Really appreciate it. Okay, now the next action is accepting a 7.75 plus or minus acre of gifted land, which was voted on at the annual town meeting 2022, Article 26, Mildred L. Erickson, trustee. Les, would you like to comment on this?
I would. Way down in your packet, 100 pages or so, and just after the performance review format that we just went through, there is a quitclaim deed that is going to be the subject of this next action. So as Diana said, at annual town meeting, the town meeting voted to authorize the select board to accept a deed of gift from Ruth Erickson for some land that she would like to gift to the town. Excuse me. Upon such terms as conditions as the select board may deem appropriate. There were a few loose ends at the time that were not worked out. So very recently, council has completed the work on the deed so that we now have a deed before you, which has all of the issues resolved in the final language. It's now just a simple quitclaim deed that makes a gift of approximately 7.5 acres of land on Summer Road as a gift to the town for recreational purposes. So the action tonight is for us to accept that deed as a deed of gift. So I'll just move right on to the motion. I move that pursuant to the authority vested in it by the vote of the May 9th, 2022 annual town meeting under Article 26 and of every other authority appertaining, hereby accepts the gift of land of 7.747 acres of land, together with any structures thereon, as shown as Lot C on plan entitled Plan of Land in Acton, Mass. And Boxborough, Mass., owned by Mildred L. Erickson, dated November 23rd, 1973, by Acton Survey and Engineering, Inc., recorded with Middlesex South District Registry of Deeds in Book 12573, page 67, and as plan number 1630 of 1973 from Ruth L. Landry, trustee of the 213 Summer Road Realty Trust for recreational, accessory, and related purposes such as attendee parking and sheds for recreational equipment and field maintenance, and provided further that such action is for a deed in the form presented, and that town council, with the approval of the town administrator, may authorize changes of form to the deed prior to recording.
Okay, do I have a second?
Good.
Okay,
That last bit of language would be to allow town council to adjust any snags that turn up in language or an error the deed itself, such as a misstatement of the actual area, that sort of thing.
further discussion? Any comments from the public? All right, seeing none, no hands raised, Les?
I would move, well, I already moved it.
No,
Yep.
she's during the vote.
Moved in
That's the
second.
vote.
Oh, you're calling for a vote. I'll vote aye.
Wes,
Aye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
and Lepari, aye. Thank you for doing all this work on this, Les.
Well, thanks to Jane Kangas, who's been working with me very diligently on this. I'm sorry she couldn't join us tonight.
Yes, I agree. So we're moving on to awarding the $1.345 million contract to Ray Liberty Field Green Acres Landscape and Construction, Inc. First Mike and then Rajan.
Okay, so we do have a low bidder on this, and we are accepting all three alternates on this bid. And the low bidder on this is Green Acres Landscaping. So this vote will be one for me to send a notice to proceed to the apparent low bidder, for them to start gathering their bonds, their insurance certificates, naming the town as an additional insured, and other documents so that we can enter a contract with them. And the other part of this will be that so that I can go ahead and sign a contract with the contractor so that they can go ahead and get ready to start this project, most likely in the spring, and move forward with that so that we can do the work required over at Liberty Field, as was approved with the additional money at fall town meeting. Rajan, do you have anything to add on to that?
You actually covered pretty much everything on it. Just to let you know, just for the official start of this project, it's not from the date of signature, it's from the date of first breaking ground, is when the timeline starts for this project.
So I'm assuming that wouldn't be until the spring at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they would, when we spoke to the engineer earlier today, they're going to do a lot of their pre-construction work now, but the actual going into the ground will take place in spring, but they're going to start getting the pre-construction ordering and just getting the materials together. They're going to start doing that once the contract signed off.
Okay. Do I have any comments from the public? I move to award the contract for the improvement of Liberty Field in the amount of $1,344,572.00, converting the base bid in alternates numbers 1, 2, and 3, and further to authorize the town administrator to execute the contract to the same and to authorize him to issue change orders as he deems necessary and appropriate in amount not to exceed $134,457.00 and award to the lowest bidder, Green Acres Landscape and Construction, Incorporated. We have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
Les,
Fox, aye.
Wes,
Folks, aye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
and Lepari, aye. Thank you very much, Rajan, for all your work on this. And thanks to the Recreation Committee for spending all the time and dedicating so much of your time to all of this project. And I know it's going to be wonderful when it's built. So thank you all for all your hard work. Now, the opening and closing dates for the annual town meeting. Mike.
Okay, so we've been working on the on the calendar that'll prepare us for a number of things, with the main end goal being annual town meeting in May. But backing up, that will also include your operating budget, your capital budget, your annual report, and there must be 50 different calendar items on here. So we're still working on that. We plan to have that prepared and finalized in the next couple of weeks. But we wanted to at least put a couple of dates in front of you to consider for opening the warrant, so that people can start submitting warrant articles for the annual town meeting, and then a closing date for the warrant. And I understand it's the practice here to either keep the warrant open for 2 weeks or 4 weeks. So I wanted to suggest a date of December 12th, which would be your next regularly scheduled meeting to open the warrant. And I understand that's a little bit early, but instead of keeping it open for 2 weeks, I was thinking of 4 weeks. So closing the warrant on January 9th. So there are a couple of reasons that I'm suggesting that you consider opening it a little bit early and closing it by January 9th. One of them is that is so that we can get all the warrant articles ready and have them ready for both discussion, voting, and then get them into the printer. And I guess the last couple of times that things have gone into the printer, there've been a number of iterations with edits and changes. So I want to give us plenty of time to get that all in. But I open it to your discussion and thoughts.
So the process here is that we would move today to inform the boards, and then we would move in on the 12th to actually open the warrant. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I'm not suggesting we open the warrant this evening. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to discuss that and see if those dates, just a little before the middle of December opening and just a little before the middle of January is closing, if those are acceptable, or if I should be looking for other dates. So correct, not opening the warrant tonight, but looking at suggesting opening the warrant at your next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay, is there anybody want to comment on this? All right, well, I move to inform all boards, committees, commissions, and the public at large that the warrant of the 2023 annual town meeting will open for the submission of articles and citizen petitions on December 12, 2022, and shall close for such submissions at 4 p.m. on January 9th, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Les.
Fox eye.
Wes.
Folks,
John.
Markowitz, aye.
And Lepari, aye. So now we can tell everyone, get those warrant articles ready. So submitting on the 12th. So, boy, we've really gotten through this fast here. We're left with board and administrator comments and reports. Mike, do you have anything first that you'd like to talk about?
At this point, I'm just about worn out and out of words. So no, I don't have any additional reports other than, I'm getting my feet grounded here. This is the beginning of my 4th week, and it's a pleasure working here. I'm enjoying meeting, the residents here, and I'm continuing to meet new and board and committee and commission members. In fact, just this morning, Rajan and I, as I mentioned earlier, we were with the Rec Commission, the engineer, as well as Alec from the planning office, and looking at another new project. And as I mentioned, this was another opportunity where we were able to bring our new director of land use and permitting in, give his thoughts, and found an area that's worthy of exploration where we are doing the construction on Liberty Field. And he has terrific experience in grant writing. We had Alec and Hillary from the Recreation Commission talking, and found an area where, it's worthy of further discussion. He knows the folks at the state, and he's going to poll them and see if he can get a sense of their appetite for an application from us. We did put in an application last year for a trails grant. We did not get that, but my question to them this morning was, with having this construction project teed up and ready to go, does that give us some leverage towards maybe a grant acceptance? And Alex seemed to think that it would, if the timing works out correctly. And it could be that a second phase of this project, which is already planned as part of the project that you just voted, which is the walking path around Liberty Field, that if we were to break ground on that at about the time or after the time that the grants were coming open on trails, and where we do have some trails that begin and end at Liberty Field, it could open some grant and money opportunities for us. That's yet to be seen, and that's why I want to bring Alec back 2 meetings from now. He's not available for your next meeting on the 12th, but I'd like to bring him back at the next meeting after that to discuss a little bit more about that project, but once we've had a chance to discuss a little more. But also I'd like to bring him back to have a discussion about town center. We did have an interesting discussion. He and I had a virtual tour with Mark Barbadero, as well as Cindy Markowitz was on the virtual tour. We got a great tour of many of the sites around town, and one of the last ones that I was able to see before had to get off and go to a next meeting was the town center. And I wanted to get the perspective coming from the planning board members. And then last Wednesday, Alec and I had a meeting with Rich, who's the chair of the EDC, and get his thoughts on town center, because quite honestly, as I started looking at Boxborough and researching to find out if this is a place that I wanted to come work, and clearly I'm here, so it is. But 3 of the things that were really outstanding to me that have been discussed for an awful long time and have had awful lot of interest were town center, public safety building, and water resources, especially to the west of town. So my question to those groups was, are these things that the town really wants to do? And if so, how does it want to do them, and what priority does it give to them as far as if these are going to be staggered or approached simultaneously? So those are discussions that I'd like to have ongoing, and I think 2 meetings from now I'd like to engage the board in talking about the town center and forming a subcommittee with members from the planning board, from the economic development committee, as well as historical and the board of selectmen, and any other groups, organizations, or citizens at large that you think would benefit by being involved in a town center discussion, so that we can move forward and see, is this something that the town is serious about doing? Then we'll organize that effort and start moving in that direction. So that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Well, I just want to personally say thank you so much, Mike, for your first 3 weeks here and moving into your 4th. And I know you came in the middle of a firestorm and a bunch of different issues, and I appreciate how well you've handled everything and with such grace and calm. Thank you very much for everything that you're doing so far, and I know we're in really good hands, and so thank you again.
Thank you.
Other board members, do you have any reports or any comments that you want to make?
I can provide a brief update on one of the items Mike mentioned, which is the public safety building effort. So we had a slight pause in ordinary life while we welcomed Mike to town, onboarded him, had a town meeting, and had a Thanksgiving where Rajan was able to take a well-deserved break. So that set us back a little bit on executing a contract to review the prior work of HKT on the public space needs requirements for public safety. And so we have about to ink that contract. Rajan's been working with Context Architecture that was selected to do the work. And I understand that if things go as they have been going over the last day or so, we'll probably be able to sign off on that contract by the end of the week and get underway. So that would be to review the prior work that was done by HKT to make sure we're all on the same page, review those assumptions, review the analysis, make any corrections that we might find necessary, and then to proceed forward.
Thank you, Les. Anybody else want to make any reports or comments? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Okay. Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Okay.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
and Lepari. Thank you, everyone.